Welcome to People at Work. I'm Amanda Dundas, and I'm speaking today with OrgVitality co-founder Dr. Scott Brooks, who is here to talk about our free suite of pulse surveys, which are aimed at helping organizations and employees navigate these challenging times. Scott, thanks for being here.
Hey, my pleasure.
I know the creation of this suite of surveys was a team effort with all the OV consultants involved. Can you talk a little bit about why the team decided on these specific 5 surveys?
Yeah, good question. We stepped back and we tried to think about, what is it that organizations need to know? In the early days of the pandemic and shelter in place, it was just about, survival, getting stuff done, helping people be safe. But then as things change, different organizations are in different places, move at different rates, provide different services, have different structures. It made a lot of sense to break it apart into a couple of additional surveys that would meet organizations where they were and what they needed to know. And what this comes from is really an evaluation of what do executive teams need to know to help them make decisions about how to move forward.
So it might be a little overwhelming for some organizations when they first log in. There are a lot of surveys on the platform. Where do they start?
Yeah, I know there's a lot going on, and these are confusing times. There's a lot of chaos, a lot of uncertainty, a lot of unrest, and so one of the things that you would do is think about, like, what are the issues you're wrestling with anyway, right? Are you looking to reopen your facilities in some way? And so in that case, you might want to start with the readiness to return pulse that we have that asks people about, how are you feeling about getting ready to come back? Now, that might not be as applicable for everybody, right? Another one is about re-onboarding. Once people are newly back on site, how do they feel? And that's the re-onboarding one. Or we're all trying to figure out, how do we interact with customers and how do we get work done differently than we did before? And so there is a service process and safety pulse, which is all about trying to figure out in the new conditions in the new environment, how do things get done? And so whether it's those or some of the others about virtual teamwork or just general safety, think about what you're wrestling with and then go get the information that helps you do that. Don't just invent a survey need out of nowhere. Match it to what you're already doing.
I feel like there's so much uncertainty right now for everyone. Our
Yeah,
offices
that's true.
reopening, our schools reopening. How does having all this employee feedback help organizations move forward?
Yeah, I mean, that's kind of $1 million question. People are trying to figure out how to move forward. But when you step back and think about it, the information deficit that we all have needs to be filled. And how do we predict the future and what stakeholders do we listen to? And so all of this is built on the premise that, yeah, your frontline employees, your people who are closest to the customers or closest to production or whatever it is, that they have thoughts and ideas about how to do this. And so that kind of information is absolutely essential to stirring into the pot and figuring out how to move forward. Each organization is going to be a little different, and so each process will be a little different. But making sure that you stay open to all sources of information, including employees, is absolutely critical.
So it sounds like organizations may use these surveys in different ways and at different times.
Yeah, that's absolutely our expectation. That's one of the reasons why we in the early days started with just one pulse that seemed to match everybody's generalized concerns. But now there's different phases, different stages that people are in. Um, the one piece of advice that I might hammer home is, don't just go off and survey because you feel like you should. Match the surveys to the conversations you're genuinely having in the organization. Match it to what keeps the executives or you awake at night. that's what you got to pursue, and that's going to be a little different for different folks.
I think that's a really critical point. And then I think also, I imagine also that once the organizations get the feedback, they have to be willing to listen to it and learn from it. Can you
Yeah.
speak a little bit about that?
Yeah, no question. I mean, one of the cardinal rules of surveying is don't ask if you don't intend to respond. Um, and so you got to make sure that you're willing to listen and willing to adapt what you're doing based on the feedback you get. And you should want that. But another thing that a survey can be is it's a symbol of listening. And so more than any single specific question that you're asking, it is a symbol that you're interested and you want to respond. And that's really important to follow up on.
What's an example of real action or change that could come from all this?
Yeah, that's a good point. Let me start with one of the more concrete ones, right? So readiness to return is a pulse that we've got, and it has things like, I'm confident that we'll have an effective plan and make the right decisions as we get ready to start, or we're really prioritizing health and safety in the ways that we should, that kind of stuff. And I think that organizations do have real choice and real sort of flexibility in a way in when and how they decide to pull people back on site, and looking to ask people exactly how to do that. It might not change the fact that you will reopen, but it might shift things around, and you might get some great ideas about how to stage it, how to adapt it. You will know what kind of concerns you're walking into, all of those kinds of things. And that's just the readiness to return survey. Each one of the pulses will provide, that kind of specific information that helps you adapt your plans. Might not change the broad strokes of your plans, but it'll help you adapt them and make sure they sit well with people who are really in the middle of it all.
That makes sense. We're just about out of time, but any last piece of advice?
I think what all of this represents, just stepping back, it's a big picture. Everybody started the pandemic thinking about, how do we stay safe? And now there's lots of different pressures that are not just about being safe, but it's about reopening. It's about keeping jobs. It's about still making money or doing the work that you're supposed to be doing. And there's so much uncertainty. I think what this set of pulses represents is just an ability to get some more information to add to the landscape of what you're trying to do. And so think about, the conversations you already have. Think about the issues that already keep you awake at night, and just find the right pulse that matches that information that you need to help you move forward. And I think that's all this is. Don't build it to be too big. Just like go for it. Match it to what you're doing. Get some more information, and then move ahead. That's all we can hope for.
Well, this has been incredibly helpful. Thank you, Scott, for being here today, and thank you all for tuning in. More information about these pulse surveys can be found online at our website at orgvitality.com. Until next time, I'm Amanda Dundas, and this is People at Work.